Okay, so for the water knot part of the wrap 3 pull 2, what you want to do is you want to get a piece of webbing, flat webbing, don't matter what kind of flat webbing, as long as it's rated. And you're going to start with a simple overhand on one end of your webbing, making sure it's nice and flat, nice and neat. You don't want any twists inside the webbing or anything like that, because it's going to mess the knot up at the end. So after you got that, what you want to do is you want to turn it to the flat side. And what I mean by the flat side of this, to make it simple for yourself, is that you got this side coming in, it's kind of on top, it's not through the bottom like that. Reason being is that now I'm going to go ahead and find the other side of the webbing. And if you look at this webbing, it's got two sides. One side's got marked chevrons on it in the middle, these little black dots. The other side doesn't. What's good about that is that when you go to make the water knot, in this case, you put the same matching side against each other. So in this case, there's no chevrons on this side, so I'm going to put the no chevrons against that, and I'm going to trace it, just like you would a tracer 8, if you know what a tracer 8 is, making sure that my webbing is nice and flat once again. And I'm just going to trace the whole way through, and then I'm just going to make it nice and neat, nice and dressed, and I'm ready to go. That right there is the water knot with webbing. Okay, now that's a good appropriate way of doing it. Only problem with this is that if you load it too tight, it could just become a real pain in the ass to get it undone. So you want to make sure that you don't load the knot itself too tight. Okay, let's put this all together now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by making my overhand and my piece of webbing. You don't have to do this. I tend to do it. It's just a reference thing for me. And then after I get that set the way that I like it, I go ahead and I just wrap the tree. What it really is wrapping it twice, but when you go ahead and you can join both ends together, you'll have 3 wraps. That'll give you your part of the wrap 3, and then what you're going to do is just pull on 2 ends of those. The 2 ends are not going to be the ends with the, the 2 wraps aren't going to be the wraps with the knot, obviously. And then after I get my wraps done, I'll go ahead and I'll trace the knot once again, and that will make the water knot. And then after I got the water knot, like I said, just pull on the 2 ends that don't have the knot. And I make sure that I keep my knot facing the direction of pull. What that's going to do is that's going to allow me to load that with more force, but it's not going to load the knot as much. So when I go and I unload that and I want to untie it, I'm not going to have so much of a problem. You just got to watch what you're putting it around, so make sure that you're not putting too much force onto that knot itself. Alright, so that's the wrap 3 pull 2. Like I said, you start with a water knot. The water knot. Hope you can see that. There you go. Making sure that you don't twist it too much when you don't twist it at all when you're making the knot. You want to make sure that your knots are pretty good and clean with any knot that you're doing, you know. So it's not a right knot until it's tied and dressed correctly. So, but the wrap 3 pull 2, it takes a lot of force. So, you know, and depending on the size object that you're wrapping around, it's gonna decide on how much pressure you're putting on that knot. So the larger the object, obviously the less pressure is going to be on that knot. But regardless, you always want to make sure that that knot is facing the same direction or on the same side as the direction of pull. This way you just keep, you know, the amount of force off that knot, and it's easier to break the knot later on. We all know how much it sucks to have to lose a piece of rope or a piece of webbing or sling due to the fact that you load a knot on it way too much. But there's ways around it. You just have to think about it and be smarter than what you're doing, or smarter than the situation. So I hope this helps out. It's always helped me out. I've used it tons and tons and tons, especially before slings came out. And it's a good fallback, really, is what it is. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that takes its place with equipment these days, but it's always nice to know the old school methods. So, hope it helped out. wrap 3 pull 2. Cool.